What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? And today we are going to be talking about Star Wars Dark Forces Remastered here on the PlayStation 5. And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And one thing I would really like to mention here before we dive right into this video is Star Wars Dark Forces is a first-person shooter computer game released on February 15th, 1995 by LucasArts. The game introduces the character of Kyle Katarn, a former Imperial stormtrooper and agent, now a mercenary for hire in the service of the Rebel Alliance, and uses the 3D Jedi engine. The story takes place both just before and mostly after the events of Star Wars 4: A New Hope. Now, here's one thing I would really like to put in here. This game is utterly amazing. I am thoroughly enjoying this game so far. I haven't finished it yet. What I really want to talk about this game, I think that Night Dive Studios has done it again when it comes to remasters, because I think when it came to Quake 1, Quake 2, Doom 64, and even the System Shock remake, which I believe it came out earlier this year, and I'm thoroughly excited for that game because that game is in fact coming out May 21st of this year, 2024, and I am so excited for that game because I am nothing but a huge fan when it comes to first-person shooters. I have always loved these games, whether old or new. So we're going to be doing that quite a bit here on my channel as well. We're going to be posting some old school stuff and some new stuff. This is what my channel is preferably all about. But anyways, so much further ado, we are going to dive into this Jedi start Dark Forces Remastered, and I really think that this game, it's a lot of things that really involves from a Star Wars perspective. You know, when it comes to Star Wars, there's always unique parallels when it comes to story, character progression, and in other things. And why I think that this game, to my understanding, a lot of people are saying that this game is not really purely canon. But it is kind of in a way, because of the fact of what I just previously mentioned at the beginning of this video. And so I think that's where this game really falls under line. And the game is actually perfectly streamlined from a visionary and or a gameplay perspective, because I think when it comes to mostly in first-person shooters, whether if it's old school stuff, much like Duke Nukem, or even Doom or Quake or Unreal on PC, but I think what Night Dive Studios was able to really do when it comes to perfect these remasters almost 100%, in my personal opinion, they have so much passion, and I really greatly appreciate their passion of bringing some of these old school classics back to our day and age of gaming, whether if you're on console or on PC. And what I will say, it's fantastic. I love it when a company that is so driven, that is so passionate, and knowing what they want to do to bring some of these old school titles back. What I would really love to see, I know it's already on Xbox, but I would really love to see a Goldeneye 007 remastered. I think that would be fantastic on PlayStation, other than being on another ecosystem. But I think when it comes to Dark Forces Remastered here on the PlayStation 5, no matter where you play it, doesn't make much of a difference. It's the same exact game. But what makes this game so fantastic, it's, like I said, it's the artistic design to it. It's the philosophy of it, and showing off the visual fidelity of what the Kex engine was able to utilize and pertaining to this game. But they did it so well in the Dark Forces Remastered, and I think they did it fantastically in the Quake 1 Remastered, Quake 2, and even Rise of the Triad Ludicrous Edition as well, which I have not played yet, but that game was utterly fantastic for what I understand as well, too. So, but I think when it comes to a Star Wars IP, other than, like from Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor or any other Star Wars games like Battlefront or Battlefront 2 back in the day, or, much older Star Wars games, I think that when it comes to the Dark Forces Remastered, they did it very well in this remastered for this game. I think it really shows off what the game was actually look like back in the day on the PS1. And to my understanding, on the PS1 days, this game did get a little bit heavily criticized for its jankiness of its control schemes, of its gameplay mechanics, and the jankiness was also part of the fact that the game was also slow at times. It dropped many frames per second, and to my understanding, I think the frames per second of droppage for that game on PS1, I think it was below 20 frames per second or 15, and the game did not do very well on PlayStation 1. But however, is that the PC in that time as well was able to play the game much better because of maybe better gameplay rendering and everything what this game was able to do on PC, because obviously PC is the master race, a lot of people would say. But with this remastered, there is one thing I would really like to mention, is in fact that I love the way how this game really feels in the controller. I think that when it comes to having Night Dive making these games, they really feel great on the PlayStation controller. I'm sure that they feel fantastic on an Xbox or on PC, but I think that's where a lot of people prefer console over PC sometimes. I do highly agree with that sometimes, but not always 100%. But, there are people want a game where they want a game, and I highly respect that. So that's what I was trying to get to as well. But I think when it comes to this Dark Forces Remastered as well, is the weapons. The weapons in this game they look so much better from their original iteration counterpart from the PS1. And so I think it has to do with it really has to do with the Kex engine of what that engine was able to utilize from Night Dive Studios, and making the game much more smoother, more gratuitous, more fluid, and I think that's where this game, it delivers in all fronts, especially, like I said, it doesn't matter where you play. I think what's greatly important to know, if that you are going to play these old school titles, whether if they already have previously released many years ago, or if you end up getting the remasters, like the Dark Forces Remastered, or Quake 1, or Quake 2, or Doom 64, or the System Shock remake. I mean, I really think that remakes do have their own place in this gaming history, or gaming genre as a whole. And I think that's where this game really does a fantastic job in all fronts, in my personal opinion. But of course, I think when it comes to old school titles, I think Night Dive has always done a great job so far. I would really love to see them do more old school titles. From what I understand is that I know that I think it's like one of the Night Dive's executives or producers. They would love to do an Unreal remaster for consoles as well. But what I do know is that there's like some rights issues for that, and it has to do with Epic, and so. But I would really love to see that happen, but I don't think it will. But like I said, I would love to see it happen. But point being, I think when it comes to this Dark Forces Remastered, though, it's everything what this game really does a fantastic job in so many different aspects and concepts to it. Like I said, the gameplay is fantastic. It's fluid. It's robust. It feels great. And I love its visual and artistic design to it, and its philosophy of that, and showing off the lighting structure and how it bounces off from certain types of areas of the game. And like what I would agree though is that this game is not groundbreaking, especially when it comes to remasters. But for what I understand though too, that this game was in fact groundbreaking of the time when this game initially released, because I don't think we've ever had any other Star Wars games that were the benchmark, especially on PC or on PlayStation 1. While the original Doom game, though, of course, back in 1993, was a pinnacle and revolutionary game of its time as well, much like from Dark Forces was able to do. Because while Dark Forces Remastered, or its original game itself counterpart, it does feel like a Doom clone. But it was the fact that they were able to have a different type of engine back in the time when this game initially released. it made it revolutionary. They did a lot of different. They had to do a lot of different things of making this game really look great, specifically either on console or on PC. And it's astounding of what the Kex engine or from Night Dive Studios were able to utilize and what they were able to do to bring this game back at its core. And that's one thing I would think what Night Dive Studios really does a fantastic job as well, is in fact that I think when it comes to remasters, I don't think I would see any other company do remasters proper, much like Night Dive. I give Night Dive Studios so much credit because they brought back some old school titles that I fell in love with, that I grew up playing with, like I previously mentioned, like Quake 1, Quake 2, and Doom. And it's amazing that they brought some of these old school titles back, and it just brings back those memories again. I love the nostalgia factor, and I think when it comes to the nostalgia factor as well, much like from Dark Forces Remastered or from the other games as I previously mentioned, is the fact that there's a lot of old school gaming in me still. It will never leave me, to be quite honest with you, because I think that's where this game, it just brings me back to playing the Quakes, playing the Dooms, playing the Hexens, and all the different type of Doom clones. But I think that's where this game, it just feels really good, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm really glad I picked this game up. And while I do believe that Dark Forces Remastered, it is a challenging game. It's challenging from what Quake 1 and Quake 2 and Doom, they were all challenging to their own certain type of degree. But you really have to be careful in Dark Forces Remastered because you are able to find different types of artifacts. I would say you can find night vision goggles. You can have a headlight you could turn on and off, but you got to be careful because it does retain battery. And I think that's where this game really revolutionized to the utmost of from what Doom or Quake were able to do, because Quake 1 and Quake 2 and even Doom for that matter, they used different types of engines for those types of games, but they were all part of the same genre. But, with Dark Forces, though, utilizing that Jedi engine that they were able to use and pertain along with from its original counterpart, and then from Night Dive Studios utilizing the Kex engine to making the game much more fluid in gameplay and environmental structure and the concept design of it, but still retaining some of its core quality of what this game actually felt like back in the day. And I think that's fantastic. It's like I said, it's the reason why I think Night Dive Studios is a perfect fit to bring back some of these old school fondest memories of games, much like Dark Forces Remastered. And I really think that when it comes to this game as well, it's the level design in this game is astounding. It kind of brought me back a little bit from what the original Thief game did, which was Thief the Dark Project specifically. I wouldn't say Thief 2 or Thief Deadly Shadows, but Thief the Dark Project was one of the most revolutionary games of its time as well, because of its, not just because of its environmental storytelling, but it was the design of the game itself and the way how they were utilize sound. From when you're walking on tile, it would make loud noises, but when you're walking on carpet, you would make silent noises. But I'm just trying to make an interpretation here and being able to understand that while that game was revolutionary of its time because of that gaming era, but I think when it comes to first-person shooters, though, first-person shooters they've been around for years, and I think that's where this game really does a fantastic job of bringing some of that nostalgia back from Doom, from Quake, from Unreal, and Wolfenstein, and Half-Life, and I'm just like, wow. And this game, it just holds true from its original design, but with much prettier graphic fidelity, better visual fidelity of its environments, and where this game industry can go in terms of bringing some of these old school games back to life again from a studio known as Night Dive Studios. And like I said, they did a remarkable job for this game. And so I really would love to see more games like this, from other titles that I previously mentioned. So my apologies on this, but it's true. And I would love to see a Half-Life, maybe, possibly. I will love to see Unreal Remastered as well. I would love to see a return to Castle Wolfenstein. That's one thing. That's another game I would really love to have Night Dive Studios helm too. But I don't know. I think that a lot of people are saying, well, I'm getting sick of remasters, but honestly, I'm not getting sick of remasters. I actually really enjoy remasters that are done properly. And that's another thing I would say. I think that this game, Dark Forces Remastered, this is one of the best remasters I've ever played yet from Quake 1 or Quake 2. While I'm sure that people will probably maybe disagree with me, and that's fine. But I really think that Dark Forces, it's just a fantastic game. And like I said, I want to see more games like Dark Forces or much like Unreal or Return to Castle Wolfenstein to be remastered in this new era of gaming. I mean, I know that they might not be the most important games in the world, but they were the most important and most pivotal games in history. And I think it just goes to show you that Night Dive Studios did a fantastic job once again on a perfectly remastered for a Star Wars game, much that of the first-person shooter genre. But anyways, too much further ado. This is Jake from Citizen JV. Thank you for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. Put any comments or questions, please put them in the comment section below. And you guys have a good rest of your weekend.